remember, we previously reported the University of Lynchburg's plans to cut 17 academic programs and 80 jobs. The decision isn't sitting well with some. WDBJ7's Layla Mitchell got one alumna's reaction.
The University of Lynchburg has recently been under fire for cutting some undergraduate programs and some faculty and staff positions. Now, people tell me this has been felt deeply across the community, and this has prompted a passionate response by some alumni.
They just really care about people, and seeing them, just get fired like they're worth nothing is just devastating.
Barbara Yaus, a 2020 alumna, has taken matters into her own hands by starting a GoFundMe campaign aimed at raising over $270,000. Her goal is to give the funds to the university, with one major condition: that the president and vice president step down. Her campaign has gained some traction, with the university community now reaching out to her as a safe space.
If this amount was reached for Give Day, then there are people who care enough about the university that they might be willing to donate again.
The GoFundMe page outlines her concerns about the administration's recent decision and what she believes to be misleading statements from the university's president.
And even if there was a financial crisis, doing it this way is just unethical. And it's also you can't cut the liberal arts and the community from a liberal arts college whose core is being a community without it not suffering.
WDBJ7 reached out to the University of Lynchburg for their response on the GoFundMe and her request for the president and vice president to step down. Bob Lemon, the chairman of the board of trustees, sent this statement in response, saying, "It's an extremely challenging time for colleges and universities all across the country, and the University of Lynchburg is no exception. They are all having to make tough decisions while continuing to meet the evolving needs of students. If Yaus does not reach her goal, she plans to donate the money raised to those most affected by the cuts, the staff members who have been let go and are now facing financial hardships." Reporting in Lynchburg, Layla Mitchell, WDBJ 7.